Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the first live stream of 2021. It's been a while since we've done this. I am Brad, AE4VJ, your technical coordinator for the South Carolina section of the ARRL. I'm also joined here by Gordon Mooneyhan. Gordon, your call, W4EGM. And John Gendron, NJ4Z. Marc Tarpley, N4UFP, will be here shortly. He had a previous meeting, and he will be in as soon as he's finished with that. Hopefully, it won't be but a couple of minutes. So we also got on tap is Buddy Willis, W4DEW, and David Goodman, KA3JRM. They haven't popped in yet, but as soon as they do, hopefully, I know it's 8 o'clock on a Friday. It might be a little difficult, but we will get that rolling along. So what we are going to cover, we're going to talk about field day, what we learned from last year, some plans going forward, and some other things up, and kind of what we learned, what you may add, what you may remove from last year's, and go over the rules change. Pretty much the same as last year, one little small modification, but we will get to that in a little bit. So let's welcome in our guest, Gordon. Good evening. How are you?
Any better, I'd be in Myrtle Beach on vacation instead of living here.
Well, I thought you did live down there.
I do.
And now you're on vacation.
I wish, yeah.
All right. And John, NJ4Z, how are you, sir?
Doing fine, Brad. Good to see you. Good to see you, Gordon. And just hanging out, enjoying the day.
Yeah, that was, we had a little bit of a cold snap up here this past week. I think I saw somebody post something that it was actually colder here than it was in like Bismarck, North Dakota.
Colder than Fairbanks, Alaska.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And
inversion, right?
It was quite a shock to have to turn the heat back on. It was. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I had not put all the winter clothes and everything up quite yet.
Well, I was in a hurry. I left and went to work and walked out the door without a jacket. Got in the truck. It was already warm, and I didn't realize it until I had to go outside again.
That remote start's pretty handy, isn't it?
Oh, man, love it.
All right, so let's pretty much the only rule change we got from last year. They're going to do the same thing that they did, and kind of let's say for the scoring, you can operate individually, and that will aggregate to a total score for the club. Now, I think there might have been some quirks with the website last year as far as entering the actual club name. It had to be exact. It wasn't pre-filled out, and I definitely understand the challenges with that. But we pulled all this together really, really quick. So that's probably going to be something that needs to be a little better communicated with the clubs, so they enter this verbatim. And there's probably still going to be some error because you can fat finger anything, and that happens. What about your guys' experience?
Yeah, we had some technical challenges with that. With York County Amateur Radio Society trying to fit that in. And of course, there's another York County Amateur Radio Society in York, Pennsylvania. So we had to make sure we put the SC in there. And then the guys were concerned about where the SC was. Is it after the York County? Is it after Radio Society? It was a mess, but we got it straightened out.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a mess, but I think I even saw it because I go to Type 'em in and you'll see something very similar. And just one character off or something like that, and it's a whole different club. But Gordon, did you guys experience anything like that? Or
we did not have field day last year. We had a few fellas just operate on their own. I'm on the league PR committee, so I went around visiting some other sites. And this year looks like we're probably not going to have it either. Most of our club is I don't want to say elderly, but getting up there in age, and they're afraid of the coronavirus. So unless things change in next week or so, where we got someone to run the committee, we're not going to be having field day this year, and I'll be out and around the state.
Well, I know that was probably, I think that was a concern last year. That was what prompted the temporary rule change, was people just weren't going to have it. So, I mean, you guys can still have it. I would completely understand not doing it as a group and doing it individually, but still getting credit as the group. And I don't know, Bob. I hate you guys didn't. Well, you said you had a couple of guys who did it on their own, right?
Yeah, and our meeting's coming up June 7th, and we'll make a fun decision at that point.
Well, you still got some time. Everybody's got some time to think about it. And that actually brings up some more time for some of the, COVID restrictions. I think, was it South or North Carolina has lifted a lot of them. But things are looking on the uptick, which is very good. John?
Yeah, we had a field day last year. It was muted, of course. We had very stringent operating procedures. We ran 2 trailers, both open air. We wiped everything down after operators were in there. We did fairly well. We limited the amount of operators that were able to sign in and operate. We encouraged people to work from home and turn in their points. So we did good. This year's a whole different story. We did a survey of the club, and a lot of us are vaccinated, and we're ready to rock and roll. We are looking at this as an opportunity to really have a real strong get together. We started back with live meetings in person, unrestricted, last night.
Wow.
We had about 20 people in the clubhouse, which was great. Saturday, we had 30 people out at the clubhouse doing various things around cleanup and driving ground rods and working on antennas and those kind of things. So we're back to full swing, and we're going to let the chips fall where they may. Field day for this year, we're going to try and run 3A. We've got a sign up genius set up, and people are signing up. We've put an incentive out there for our GOTA station. We actually have Steve and Darcy got together, the club president and treasurer, W3SPC and K4DQP, got together and designed a T-shirt. And we are, for any new operator or newly licensed, anybody on GOTA, if they make 20 contacts, we're giving them a T-shirt. So that'll incentivize our new members and newly upgraded folks to get on the air for GOTA, come out and join us. We're going to run our second club call as our GOTA call. So we have K4YTZ as the primary, and N4YTZ is our secondary. I don't know. Can I share my screen, Brad, or no?
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, let me see if I can show you what the shirts look like. Let's see. Yeah. So that's what the shirts look like.
I can't see it.
Oh, you can't see it? I wonder
Did you
why.
do share down there at the bottom?
Yeah. Stop share.
Oh, go ahead. I didn't.
Oh, okay. Share. Share screen. I'll pick that screen. So we got the shirts picked out onto, they're going to be on wicking material, obviously dark gray or black. And we're going to order, we're going to order 20 of them and give them away. And then people who are ineligible on GOTA, we're going to offer them for sale. And we've had some response to that too. So we're really looking forward to it. Like I said, the plan is to run 3A with the GOTA station. If we can get enough operators, Steve is looking at this year as kind of welcome back K4YTZ, team K4YTZ. Let's go get our class for the nationals. So we're going to see what happens.
That's nice. Very good. The T-shirt, the design looks really good. That'll be a nice material. That will definitely be a keepsake for a new ham. It's very nice seeing somebody do something like that. So congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So are you going to do it you're doing it at the same site, or?
Yeah, Westminster Park. So we're going to bring in Steve's camper, my camper, and we've got a 17 by 10 foot tent and another 20 by 10 foot tent we're going to set up. Normally we fill in our picnic at the club picnic at the same time, but the spot is rented out there at the pavilion at the park. So we are tabling our picnic until July 31st. We're going to run a fox hunt in the morning, picnic at noon, and then we're going to do a POTA activation in the afternoon. So, but I have a feeling with Steve and Darcy and I kind of running the thing, somebody's going to be making some good food. So we're going to be well fed out there anyways.
Yeah, you won't go hungry. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I just was saying, no, we won't go unfed. That's for sure.
Well, that's part of the deal. So talking about taking a step back to last year again, with the rule changes, what did you guys think about how the contest has worked or contesting in general? I know some of the bigger contests, I think most of the CQ contests, you can put a club in with when you send your login, and the club will get, credit for that. And I think this is the first time the ARRL has looked at that and done it. Well, how did you guys feel about how that worked? Did you like it? You dislike it? Some other things you might want to see?
For us, it was nice last year because we did have a lot of people who were, again, ham radio as a whole is a lot. There's a lot of elderly folks in it, and this virus that we're dealing with still has a greater effect on those that are of older age. So I quite frankly was pleased with the change. The one thing I wish they had done last year, they did this year, was limit those stations to 100 watts. That was the biggest problem I had last year. Is you had all these big guns at home running beams with 1,000 watt kilowatts going out, and they just absolutely hosed the band. So all of us out there who are used to having really good field antennas, like the vertical array we ran and the big mega loop that we run, we couldn't find a place to operate because there were so many people on the band and so many big guns out there. And we were forced to hunt and peck, which drives me absolutely insane. I don't mind being a hunter at certain parts, but you know me, I'm a caller. I want to be out there and I want to work the pile up. So yeah, that was a challenge. But now that they're limited to 100 watts, that might help us a little bit in finding a spot on the band. I think it's going to be crowded again. I hope after this year, once we get out of this virus, they go back to no home stations. Let's get back out in the field and do this. But it's understandable under the conditions.
Well, they've always lit home stations. It's just in the past, other Class D stations could not work another Class D station, which really there's probably not that many of them anyway. I know I worked field day from home, I don't know, maybe 2014. And I think, or the Centennial, when was the Centennial? Was that 15?
16.
That was 16?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I worked field day from home, and I only ran into like maybe a couple that we couldn't work. However, you got Centennial points, so we worked each other anyway, so you get the points.
Right.
It just didn't count the log, which, it's okay. And I think probably in a contest like field day, you might want to just let everybody be limited to 100 watts. I don't know. Maybe that's a thought for the future. What do you guys think?
I'm good with it.
Yeah. Gordon, did any of the guys you visited, did they have any of those same feelings or thoughts about the guys sitting at home with their beams and their kilowatts hurting the guys that were actually trying to be out in the field?
Yeah, I got up to New River Club in Virginia, and it was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and yeah, they were having a hard time getting through all the high power stations, and I was glad to see the league make the decision. Yeah, home stations 150 watt max.
Yeah, I think that was a good idea. That was a good call to make, and it's something that might have fallen through the cracks last year, or I don't know if it fell through the cracks, but definitely something learned and changed to move forward. So
they threw that together so quickly. I mean, you're going to miss something when you throw something that quickly together. But it was a great job. They communicated it very well. It just, it would have been nice to have them at 100 or 150 watts. But the activity on the bands were exceptional last year. Even though the bands were crappy the day, there was a lot of folks on because there was hard to find a spot to even transmit. If you had a spot, if you lost it changing operators, you better start dialing around to find something else because that spot was gone instantly.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to bring up. How were band conditions for you guys last year?
They were tough last year. They were super for Winterfield Day last year. We absolutely slayed it for Winterfield Day. I think we made like 1,500 contacts. I mean, it was crazy.
Wow.
Summerfield Day, we were around, I think, 850, 900 contacts, and that was running 2A. We just couldn't get any momentum. The bands were just hosed up. I mean, 40 was terrible. 20 was QSB all over the place. So with the solar cycle changing now, I mean, today I was working 20 meters this afternoon into the Middle East like gangbusters. So, and then, me, I don't have a lot of aluminum in the air. I just have a long, big Delta loop and running about 400 watts. And man, I was smoking into the Middle East. So band conditions should be good. We'll hope that we get some sunspots continue without the flaring, and we'll see what happens.
Well, it's starting to look pretty good already with the uptick in the solar cycle. It's been a little bit active this early, which is a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Sorry, the girl over there said something. Anything else you guys want to talk about concerning last year that you may have noticed or liked, disliked, or thought there could be some improvement on? Gordon?
Not really.
Gordon, I don't think you had much time to do a whole lot of operating. As if you were going up to Virginia and all that, it sounds like you were pretty much on the road the entire time.
I was on road about 18 hours.
Wow. That's amazing.
And we were actually on a Zoom call with the PR committee while I was driving.
Jeez. Where are you going to this year?
This year I'm going to stay in South Carolina.
Well, come out to York County. We'd love to see you. Come visit us.
I will do. I'm putting York County on my list.
We'll feed you. How's that?
That sounds good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this year. I'm so excited about it. We've had explosive growth in the club, and we've got some, new operators just gung-ho to get out there and go. Reflections from last year, it was what it was. I mean, we had trouble getting operators, obviously. We ran 2A. We just, we couldn't staff them 24 hours. It was a little rough, but, now that we're back at full song, I think we have 20 operators signed up already. So between GOTA and the regular stations, so we should be in fairly good stead. We're going to run, I think, either 2 or 3 IC 7300s and probably one 991A. So we'll see what happens.
Terrific. I'll be shooting some video for the PR committee.
Oh, nice looking camera. I like that.
New toy. So every PIO needs one.
Yeah. Well, you have to tell me what size T-shirt you are. We'll get you a T-shirt if you
XL.
come. XL? Okay. We'll
XL.
put one aside for you.
Okay.
Well, we have a comment from the YouTube. Stephen SC said band conditions were rough last year.
I think that's W3SPC.
Yeah, that very well could be.
Yeah.
I know I worked it from home. Mark worked it from home, and it was a little up and down, but I mean, we had beams and plenty of aluminum high up in the air, which helped out. But I did stick to 100 watts just because I thought that was the spirit of the thing to do. And yeah, that was SPC. So we appreciate you watching. And also, guys, we're going to be taking comments and answering questions from the viewing audience. So if you want to leave a comment either on YouTube or on the Facebook stream, we'll see them all. We'll post them up, and we'll see if we can address them or any comments that you may have.
Steve's got a new nickname, the Yoda of POTA.
He's the POTA master, isn't he?
Oh man, what is it now, Steve? Is it 10 kilos or 11 kilo awards? Let's see what he says. I know he was
Well,
closing in
he's
on 10.
dragging Darcy in with him.
Yeah, Darcy's got one and almost a second one. We're actually, the three of us are going to go to. I think we're going to Oconee State Park in July. He's got 9 kilos. We're going to go grab the 2 trailers and take them down there, and we're going to do POTA in July from Oconee, the 3 operators. So we'll see if I can score a kilo.
Well, that'd be cool. He's gonna. Well, now that's here's what he said. It's his 10th this coming week. 2,300 this past month.
Yeah.
How does he have time to work?
I don't know what he does.
I don't either. I just see him. Oh yeah,
I want that job for sure. I'll tell you.
Like it must be nice. Just be logged in. We'll call you if we need you. Sounds very good to me.
Yep.
I don't know. Wow, that's impressive though. But I know he has spent a time, and he's got some other people interested in it, which is also very cool.
Yep.
And I know he said when we did the POTA conversation a couple of years ago when I came down to see you guys at Andrew Jackson State Parks, that his goal was to hit all the state parks in South Carolina. And that I wasn't sure the number, but there's quite a few. So I don't know if he's hit all those yet.
Can't tell you. He's been making the effort anyways. So we tried to go ahead.
So you go ahead.
I was going to say he tried to go down Devil's Fork, and I guess he ran into some problems. I'm going to find out what Devil Fork looks like next week because I'll be down there. So
that's what I was going to bring up. So now that you got a camper, you're going to be in the POTA hunt yourself.
Yep. Going to take. I've got a 42-foot mast that's going to go on the back of the camper, so it'll get the tip of the antenna, the feed pointing antenna at 45 feet. If I don't put it in trees, I'll see what the rangers say. And then it's an off-center fed dipole I'm going to run. That'll get me 160 through 6. So we'll see. And I think I'm going to take the 7300 down there and run it and see. I'm going to make my decision whether I'm keeping it or selling it.
Your 7300?
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about getting an FDDX 10. So.
Oh God! Well, we'll talk about that at another time.
I know friends don't let friends buy Yaesu. I know that's your credo.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're about halfway through this. Let's move on to 2021. Hopefully, Mark will show up. I'm not sure what happened to the other guys. So, what are you going to take that you learned from 2020 and apply towards 2021 field day?
Well, it's a whole new game. I mean, it's just the way we're going to operate, having the ability to be out there with the full complement of people. It's just going to be a completely different go round for us. What I'd like to take away from 2021 is keep the stations manned 24 hours a day. For that 24 hours period, if we're going to run 3A, we have 3 stations on the air total, 24 hours. That we get enough operators to log them, because it's a waste to run 3A if you can't staff them 24 hours. So, GOAT is a different animal. That's daytime station. It's when people are out there visiting and the new operators are there. So, that's the big takeaway from us, is to keep those stations manned. And I think we're going to be able to do it at least. I know we can do it for 2A. We'll see if we can do it for 3A. Other than that, I'm just looking forward to having the camaraderie and getting people out there. And, we're going to build a fire out by the fire pit and in the evening so that people aren't operating, come out and socialize. And, I want to get back to normal so bad it's not even funny. So that's kind of where we're at with it.
Well, it kind of sounds like this year you're going to have the best of both worlds. And you guys are going to be able to get together since most people are vaccinated, and you got the ones that are not comfortable or would just rather work from home. They're going to be able to do that. They will be able to get some LOTW contacts, and then it will also help the club score out too. So it's kind of a cool deal.
Yep. And if we have some T-shirts left over, if they make enough contacts, we'll probably throw some T-shirts their way too.
So you're going to do 3A plus a GOTA. Is that right?
Yep, that's the plan right now. It may go 2A and a GOTA, but we're right now we're planning 3A.
You got plenty of time, but you say you already got 20 people on the sign-up sheet for, and we're still, what, 6 weeks away?
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good. You got plenty of time to drum up some new business. And also, you guys are cranking out new hams like crazy over there.
Yeah, we are. We've cranked out a bunch of them. We went, just I don't know how many test sessions we've run since all this mess ran. We were running every other month. Well, no, we ran every month in July, August, September, October last year. We didn't run one in November. We didn't run one in December because Bill Stinson was sick. And then January we ran, February we've been every month since. And I don't think we had less than 6 folks at a session at any of them. The first 2 or 3 we had like 20 people at a time. We were running 2 sessions because we were limited how many people were in the clubhouse to 10. So we had 10 people taking the test and 5 VEs, and that was it. You couldn't. So we were running a 9 o'clock session and an 11 o'clock session, and running folks through. And we ran some new hamster, but we've gone from 68 club members in February of 2020 to right at 100 in end of April 2021. So we've picked up about 40 members in the last bit. And part of that is what we do when we do testing. So when we bring people in to test, we tour them through the clubhouse. We encourage them. We try to mentor them there. We give our numbers out, phone numbers, emails to help them get on the air. So it's a whole process of us marketing to the new hams to join us. What they're getting out of it is what the club has to offer, right? Our radio room, our expertise in what we have in certain areas of ham radio, getting them on the air. We've kind of branded ourselves as the Elmering Club. So we're doing that. In fact, Steve mentioned we have a test session the 22nd and a test session on the 19th. So the 22nd, we're going to do a mentoring session right after testing, get some of the folks to pass their ticket on the air, walk them through basic ham 101. And then the one on June 19th, for all the new operators we've got in the club, we're going to get them familiar with the 7300 and the 991A. And we're going to try and build some pileups for them and try to let them work some pileups and see how that goes, and try to get them acquainted to almost contest, even though field day isn't a contest, but the contest kind of feel for it.
All right. Very good. Well, Gordon, you said, you're still going to be out visiting clubs, but you're sticking to the state. Is that your plan for field day?
That is the plan. Yes. I'd like to see our club get back to testing, but the old farts, I don't know when they're going to feel safe doing it again.
I'm sorry. Did you say the old farts?
I said the old farts. Yes.
Just making sure I heard it right.
Yeah, you heard it right. Hopefully they'll start wanting to get back to testing, but I've been sending people to Columbia University to do virtual testing.
Did they allow virtual testing?
Yeah.
Columbia University. Yeah, in New Jersey.
Yeah, there's the Greater LA clubs doing virtual testing too, and a club down in Florida.
And in Laurinburg, there's a club that's doing testing. Laurinburg's 2 hours away. We've had people go there to test. It's just depressing that RV team won't take some initiative to try some other things. Like there's clubs that let you test in a car So that keeps you virtually spaced outside, but they don't want to do it. I said, I can arrange for a parking lot. No, we don't want to do it.
Hey, Gordon,
We
we
don't want
we
to take
ended
the
up
chance.
we ended up requiring masks and limiting people, so we had them spaced out every 6 feet in the clubhouse, and we required masks for everybody that was coming in. And then we had the VEs that were up at the front. We had one VE responsible for preparing the paperwork. We had 3 others that were responsible for grading, and one VE that would run paperwork back and forth between the people taking the test or the testees and the front table. So we had limited exposure to all of them. You may want to suggest that and see if they can run it that way.
I will suggest that.
Yep. And if they have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be glad to help you out.
I'm tired of telling people, yeah, we'd love to test you, but your best bet's going to be to go to Lumberton.
It's a little bit of a haul.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, look who finally decided to waltz in.
Hey, Mark.
Mark?
Good evening, everyone. I had an earlier engagement.
Don't tap on your
Roanoke
computer.
Say what?
Don't tap on your computer. We can hear it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Roanoke Division leadership team, the 4 section managers, the director and vice director, get together on the second Friday of every month after typically about 7:30. And so I tried to check into that and check out at 8 o'clock, but I just told the Roanoke Division director, I said, "Bud, I got to go. I think I'm pushing the limits of fashionably late." And then I hit the leave button.
That's how you got to do it sometimes.
You left fashionably early.
I'm going to leave the meeting fashionably early. I like that.
I'm leaving the meeting fashionably early.
So it was interesting. One of the topics that came up briefly was field day.
Great. Perfect.
You're
excused.
I don't know exactly. Maybe I'll just not say anything at all.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I thought he was getting
excused from being tardy.
Oh, I thought I was excused as in you were getting ready to send me back to the studio.
No. You're not dismissed.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that's a new record for me. I did it in the first 30 seconds. Damn. So, Bud asked about field day. The West Virginia section manager said there was a big push in West Virginia to get back to traditional field days. We had it for many years, for decades before the pandemic. Virginia, Joe Paulso, the Virginia section manager, said, people a little more tentative about it. And, Marv, the North Carolina section manager, said the only group he knew that was going to do a big in-person field day event was Raleigh, RARS, the Raleigh Amateur Radio Society. And I told them that it was kind of a mixed bag in South Carolina. There were some clubs that were planning on getting together and others would consider working remotely. And in fact, I told them, I said, I'll know a whole lot more after I talk to the group on the live stream tonight. And I said, you're asking me a question and the people who might have the answer, that's the other group. That's where I'm supposed to be.
Maybe they should have joined in. Well, with some news about that, before we get any further, since it's fresh, we're going to let John was telling us their plans, and they got some pretty big ones. John, you want to fill us in?
Yeah, sure. So, Mark, we are full bore. We are back to field day the way it has been for decades. So we're going to run either 3A or 2A. We're hoping 3A. We get enough operators. We got about 20 people, I think, signed up already. One of the incentives for our GOTA folks to get the new hams on the air.
Bring the shirt back up.
Yeah, let me bring the shirt back up. All right, bear with me just a second here because I've got to see. I moved you guys down so I wasn't looking up all the time. Share screen. Yeah, I know. Okay. There we go. So Steve and Darcy designed this shirt, and we are having them printed up. We're taking orders from people who are not eligible for GOTA. But if you get on the GOTA station, make 20 contacts, we're giving you a T-shirt. And it's, from the club. And I guess, if we have some left over, if we get folks that want to work from home, if they have we'll have to set some kind of rule or something, and we'll give out the rest of the T-shirts. But we're gonna print 20 of them to give away to GOTA folks to incentivize them to get on the air. And so that's part of it. And we're gonna go at it. I mean, so much of our club is vaccinated now that we're feeling comfortable. We're back to regular meetings, and we're running virtual, obviously, too. But we decided to do that last year or the year before. So we wanted to run everything virtual so that people who had issues in attending meetings can attend. So, but we're back to full scale in the clubhouse. We had our first operating night the first weekend or the first Thursday in May, and we're going back to the way it was. So we're counting on a good field day. We'll see how it goes. Did I lose everybody?
No,
I think you made a full and complete statement, as my attorney friends would say. And
in other words, I talk too much?
No.
No, it was perfect.
Yeah,
it was perfect.
Yeah, we are selling those shirts, Mark. So I know you're not GOTA eligible because you haven't upgraded in a while, but if you'd like one.
I'm not exactly sure what I could upgrade to at this point.
Actually, Mark has upgraded. He's officially retired.
Oh, that's true. He is. Congratulations.
Hey, congratulations, Mark.
We'll see how this gig goes. It's been off to an interesting start. Right about the time I got ready to retire, my elder daughter had surgery, and my son-in-law was working out of town. So I wound up going to Marietta, Georgia for 2 weeks, taking care of Austin. And when she started yelling at me a lot and got crankier, I knew she was probably on the mend. Yep. So I came back to Rock Hill last Friday, and now Miss Lee is getting ready to go in for surgery, and that'll be June 4th. And I'll be Marley's actually coming from my other daughter's coming to help me, but that'll be about a 3-week convalescence.
Oh, wow.
So
she recovers quickly.
Me too. She's been miserable for a long time, and she's suffered enough. So this needs to happen, and the outcomes need to be good. We'll see where this goes. So while field day hasn't been at the top of my mind, I have been thinking about it. And one of the things I've been thinking about is what I don't know what we talked about clubs. I've been wondering what various individuals are going to wind up doing on field day. I guess last year we had a lot of 1D stations, and maybe that'll be the case again this year. I'm trying to figure out if Lee will be well enough for me to do something on field day at the end of the month. I don't know that I'm ready to make visits yet. Field day visits. I think I may want to wait one more year. I'm not so worried about myself, and we've both been vaccinated, but my wife has multiple health issues. And if I have a breakthrough case of COVID, I'll probably survive. Mm-hmm. The probability of Lee surviving is much lower, and I would not want to have to deal with that the rest of my life. So I'm being very, very, very careful. Gordon, what's going on over in your little patch of paradise? What are the plans over there?
The plans right now are nothing. There's some of us that want to do field day, but no one wants to chair it, and the majority of our members who are old farts, as you know, really don't feel comfortable getting back together yet. So I'm going to be on the road around South Carolina this year. representing the PR committee.
Okay. Well, that if you're starting over in the Grand Strand, you definitely will be on the road.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a haul.
Last year was 18 hours. I went up to Virginia, and yeah, I'm not going to do that again this year, but I have York definitely on my list to go visit.
We're going to feed him good.
Well, after he drives 3 hours and 45 minutes, yeah, that's the least you could do is make sure he gets a good meal.
We're going to give him a T-shirt too, so he can say, "I went there and I got a T-shirt, and that's it."
Well, those are cool POTA T-shirts. Or not POTA, but oh god, we were talking about
They
POTA.
are.
There's POTA, there's GOTA. I don't
Actually,
know, like this, click that.
I just realized that's the old version. The new version has a beam stuck up in the back of the tent. So I'll have to get you guys the picture of the real version. I don't know why I have that one up, but I guess I pulled the wrong file.
I'm gonna say something there. I don't mean to derail the conversation, but it's a observation I've had. A ham will carry a beam with them and some POS little tent to crawl in so they can play radio. You know that?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you?
The beam weighs more than the tent, and that's more than the food they brought, but they're bringing enough radio gear to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm as the guy who owns one of those tents and frequently does that. I knew where you were going with this. He's breaking my chops. So
he's salting you a little bit, isn't he?
But,
he is. Well,
Mark, at least that you can drive right up to where you're going to be camping.
Yes, that's true. And it's my property. I don't have to pay a fee or anything.
Carpetbagger.
Yes. Yep. I am the official carpetbagging Yankee in Charleston County now.
Well, you're not the only one, but you're the latest, probably.
The latest. In fact, I own a piece of land down on Edisto Island. I have a dock. I have power, and you guys have heard that story. And I have a tower. There are no buildings. I had literally pitch a tent down there and operate out of the tent.
It's awesome.
Why not?
I love it.
It's too bad you can't get a POTA number.
No, it's not part of a park, unfortunately. And it's not an island. Well, it is an island, but the island does not qualify for IOTA. Because
does it qualify for IOTA? No,
one of the IOTA rules is that there must be at least 200 meters of, I think it's 200 meters of water between the island and the mainland.
Okay.
And while the intracoastal is pretty wide, there are some parts of the North Edisto River that don't meet that 660-foot criterion. Yeah. So Edisto is not considered an island for POTA, but it's absolutely an island. You got to cross a bridge to get there.
The darn Brits just ruin it, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, they have, I appreciate that you have to define what an island is.
That's true.
And so they did. The kind of coastline we have along the Atlantic Ocean is one the British are not, well, they should be familiar with it because they were the first Europeans to see it. But that's not as common in Europe. About the only place you find those kind of barrier islands actually is on the northern coast of Germany in what is that? What used to be East Prussia. I guess it's Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. There's a section along, I guess, the Baltic Sea where you have lots of sand dunes and these barrier islands, and it's a little bit more like South Carolina. But the British, they picked I think they picked a definition that would result in the smallest IOTA list possible because nobody wanted to keep track of all those islands.
Makes sense.
Oh.
I mean, it's hard enough. Every rock sticking out of the ocean is a new DXCC country. So you can imagine every island and every lake and nook and cranny and creek in the world. Oh my God!
Yeah.
If they didn't define island, Myrtle Beach is an island.
Yeah.
Well, that is.
You're absolutely right. So
Yeah.
they picked a definition and they stuck with it. Anyway, so you're thinking about doing some field day visits, Gordon. That's great.
Yeah. And shooting some video for the PR committee.
Brad, I missed the first part of this because that was completely my fault.
We pretty much covered everything.
Okay.
Pretty much what it was from last year is all the home stations with their beams and their kilowatts made it a pain in the ass for everybody that actually tried to get out in the field.
Yep.
And John said he doesn't mind, hunting and pouncing for a little bit, but all freaking night, it's a little much.
Yeah, when you can't find a space to operate and call, it's a little bit of frustrating to put it mildly. Especially guys that, like we have in the club that love to work pileups. We don't want to be hunting and pecking. We want to be calling out and working a pileup. So hopefully we'll do that this year. We're going to put as much wire as we can in the air. I guarantee you that. Steve's got the 6 ballons, 1,200 feet of wire, and
I saw that.
feet of coax in the camper, and Lord only knows what's in my camper. So,
well, he's got a camper just set up to play radio. He said that's his old crap. Does he have 2 campers now? Oh, that's just the one. He just calls it the old crappy camper.
Yep.
Steve, the old crappy camper. I can see that on a name tag.
Well, I can't set mine up the way I'd like to. The XYL said it's too new, so I'm not allowed to make it a radio cabin yet.
Well, you might just have to go on a guy's trip.
Well, we're doing that in July. We will be full blown radio in July when we go to Oconee. I think it's the 17th and 18th for we're going for Appreciation Parks Day. So, or Appreciation Parks weekend. So we'll go down there on Friday and come back on Monday, and we're gonna plan on running 24-hour or 48 hours straight with 3 operators. So we'll see how that goes. I'm sure somebody will consume a little too much and probably fall asleep. And I'm probably going to get the Ernest T. Campbell Award. Otis T. Campbell.
But Otis was a professional. He would walk in, open the door. He knew the drill.
Guilty.
Okay.
He was a model citizen in that regard.
Absolutely.
Well, go ahead,
I did the
John.
crime. I did the crime. I'll do the time. Right.
Yeah. So I may actually go down to Jenkins Hill, down to my property, if Miss Lee is doing well enough and I can get away, because I can I'll just sleep in the tent.
There you go.
As long as it's not pouring down rain, you'd be okay. It's going to be hot.
Oh, it'll be miserable. Yeah.
And it's going to rain. It's at some point it is going to, I swear to God, every trip I've made out to the west, the 85 corridor spot, about every time I get to Anderson in the afternoon, about 4 o'clock, it's going to come a nasty storm.
What are your plans, Brad?
I've been down there. Huh?
What are you doing for Phil Day?
I guess I'm going to be here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Mark's got with Lee being directly in the house, it's a little more urgent. But I still got to help take care of my 2 elderly parents with their own health issues.
Gotcha.
And especially with my mom. So I'm still being very, very careful. I did sit down in a restaurant one day this week, but I'm up out from getting my second shot, and I still wear a mask when I go in anywhere. And I mean, that's just the thing to do. But we're getting closer to that herd immunity number.
Well, CDC put out today, if you're fully vaccinated, no social distancing, no mask required if you're in a crowd.
Did you see after they made that, there has been an uptick in people wanting to get the vaccine?
Yeah.
So it brings up the argument is like how the CDC should have zero political affiliation at all. We're not going to go into that. Now, you know what? I'm sorry I even brought it up, but you are correct. They did
Yep.
make that. And I saw Fauci, some of his comments says, we got to get away from wearing the mask all the time and start moving in that direction. And I respect that, as long as everything's.
First time in 14 months, I walked into the grocery store this afternoon without a mask.
It feel weird?
Yeah, it was very weird. It was actually kind of freeing. It was like I had it in my pocket, and I said, if somebody gives me a cross-eyed look, I'll put it on. But
Kind of like going commando, isn't it?
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
How'd you know, Brad?
Oh my God.
You can't see me from the waist down.
Me neither.
I don't want to. I absolutely don't want to.
He's gonna give you the root shaker, Mark.
Oh, I may have to go get an adult beverage. This is.
Mine's empty.
John's the only one's had one. I'm a little disappointed
I
in myself.
I've got some cider that I need to drink before I leave.
Well, that's all good plans. Poor Gordon, he said nobody really did field day. Well, as a club, they didn't have anything naturally, but he said pretty much it wasn't even, they didn't even use the rule change to do an event. Is that right, Gordon?
Yeah, that's correct. I appreciate the older people. Okay, I'm 63, so yeah, I qualify as an old fart too. But heck, I deliver pizzas for Domino's. I've been doing it all through the pandemic. Wear a mask. I was washing my hands and using so much hand sanitizer that when I'd go to the bathroom, the toilet would clean itself.
Okay. You know what?
This is going south fast.
No, here's what I love about this. After the commando comment, I'm saying to myself, okay, we've bottomed out.
Well, now we're straight. This is straight toilet humor.
Yeah. Never say never, Mark.
Yeah, but Philip Jolly commented. He says the best show on the night. So we got a thumbs up from him.
Mark, we're sinking into Titanic territory now.
Oh, all I can say is things, they say it's always darkest before the dawn. Oh, hell no. It's always darkest before things turn south and it really gets bad. Oh, God.
Well, at least we got gasoline flowing again, right?
There you go. Did anybody go hoard gas and put it in their in their plastic bag, put it in their trunk?
You know what's strange about that? I heard that, and of course, my perspective is different from some folks because I worked in the chemical industry for a couple of decades.
I got a few questions about it.
And the thing is, the kind of bags you might get at the store are polyethylene. And the difference chemically between polyethylene and gasoline is kind of like the difference between, well, it's the same molecule. They're both hydrocarbons. Polyethylene's just a really long hydrocarbon, and gasoline's a really short one. So you put gasoline in a container made of like the typical bags you use in the kitchen that are polyethylene. Within 30, 40 minutes, you don't have a bag anymore. You now have a bag dissolved in gasoline, or actually what you have is gasoline all over your floor. If you're the genius that decides to fill those plastic bags and put them in your back seat, what you have is an explosion, because the first time after that bag pops and the gasoline goes everywhere and you decide to switch on the radio, that spark, boom, it's going to look like something, going to look like a mafia hit.
Well, I haven't gotten a plastic bag from the grocery store that didn't have about at least one hole in the bottom of it by the time I got it to the car anyway.
Well, I'm talking about the kind you buy with the Ziploc top.
Is that what they were doing?
I hope they were, because if they were using the friggin' recycled bags.
Yeah, they were using those too, Mark.
Oh.
And Rubbermaid containers.
Rubbermaid containers aren't so bad. There are things like high density polyethylene and polypropylene, and they'll stay together a bit longer. The worst thing you can use with gasoline is a red Solo cup. The definition of 15 minutes is the time it takes for that cup to basically vanish, and you have a pool of red hydrocarbon solvent all over your table.
Styrofoam cooler's a bad thing too.
Oh yeah, gasoline will eat styrofoam.
Yeah, it makes a nice jelly too, kind of like napalm.
Smell like acetate. Acetate ate through styrofoam like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, John, you know what napalm is, right? It's gasoline with a gelling agent.
Mm-hmm. Polystyrene gelling agent. And it burns very well.
Yeah. I'm so glad that I've never had the opportunity to apply all the different things I learned all those years working in chemical manufacturing. I'd be a dangerous person to know.
I was a junior chemist.
Oh,
I lit a lot of things on fire and made a lot of things go boom. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So Mark, if we can we'll try to get us back on the rails here, but anything else we learned from your Zoom call? I know you said you talked about field day. I don't know if we covered everything they brought up.
yeah. I think there was a lot of, among the 4 section managers, the common thread was that there was some uncertainty about how much traditional field day activity there would be. Some clubs are still voting to be careful and have a lot of their members operate from home and then use the aggregation rule to aggregate up into a club score. I think it depends on the size of the club, the demographics. If you have a club where the average age is high, not by normal standards. All right, Philip.
oh man.
And
Oh,
I just
God.
thought we were getting back on the rails, but the audience.
Oh, we're on the rails, Brad. The problem is it's the wrong track.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where this damn train's going, but I like it.
Anyway, there's a lot of uncertainty. I think by next year things will be back to normal, but some of the clubs, the average members are of advanced age, even for our hobby, where somebody like me is right around the average. And I think those clubs, there tends to be more concern, and so they're more interested in carrying on what they did last year. Clubs where the demographics are a little bit younger, they're willing to take more of a chance. And I think there were a couple guy in West Virginia talked about some small clubs where it might be 15, 18 members. Everybody's vaccinated. They all know each other. They're probably going to be comfortable running a traditional field day.
Probably all cousins.
Okay, and the track, we just jumped again, Brad.
You did say West Virginia. Now, come on.
See, he would expect that comment coming from me, but not you, John. You thought you were far too fine of a person for.
No, I didn't actually. I didn't realize he was so in tune with local attitudes about West Virginia.
I grew up in Ohio.
Okay, well,
There you go. That's all I had to say.
it's always your neighbors that are the ones. I grew up in New York State, and it was always those fools in Pennsylvania.
West Pennsylvania.
Yep.
So Philip also asked Mark, "Are you planning on making any visits during field day?" I think we covered that a little earlier, and that's a negative.
I am not, but for a specific reason. My wife has this big surgery coming, and I will need to stay home with her pretty much for the whole month of June. And I just don't want to run the risk. I mean, both of us have been vaccinated. It would be very hard. I don't think I mean,
No, I totally get it. I'm kind of the same way. I missed it. Well, last year was kind of nice to get a break and actually participate in field day.
Yeah.
But I do kind of I miss seeing the people and all the other stuff, and then all the great food that Spartanburg has.
oh, let me tell you something. those guys at Spartanburg, they really channel their inner chef. I mean, they put on a spread. I was absolutely amazed. That was the best thing about running that route along I-85 was having dinner with the Spartanburg Club, because they pulled all the stops out. Just, all kinds of entrees, about 10 or 11 different desserts. And they were all good. I checked them all because I figure life is really short. And if you're going to start a meal, kick it off with dessert. And then if you got room for salad, fine, but start with the important stuff.
Hell, start with dessert. We'll move to shrimp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tempura,
Why not?
Tempura. So Jim, he's talking about the Beaver Club. So they're probably going to operate Saturday from the trailer. No, understand that one day, but looks like they're going to do, I don't know if he means they're going to COVID test some people, or are they actually going to give them examinations?
I'm assuming they're talking about doing some VE work.
That's an interesting idea. I haven't heard about doing that.
That'd be great. Test some folks early in the morning and get them on the air in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, if you got some folks that want to upgrade, say from tech to general or general to extra, you've already got a call sign in the database. Yeah, test them that morning, and then in the afternoon, hand them a key, a mic, a keyboard, whatever their particular poison is. Let them get on the air and make some contacts. That's
well, even if they're newly licensed, I mean, you can put them on the GOTA station, right?
Yeah,
Get
absolutely.
them running. Yep, get them on the air, like you said. If they don't get on the air in the first year, they'll never get on the air.
That is one of the most frightening statistics about amateur radio. Half in any given year, half of the people licensed, the actual numbers, I think 46%, but approximately one half will never have anything to do with amateur radio again.
Yep, we talked about that, or you talked about that in your section report.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. You would think that people would, they were focused enough to go to the trouble to study, show up for a testing session, take the test, pay the money, and now, a couple days later they have a license, and then just do nothing with it. And I think the reason that happens is mentoring. It reminds me, the last gig I had, the last 25 years of my career, I worked in higher ed, and we had a saying about teaching faculty, hey, here's your desk, here's your chair. Let me just walk out now and get out of your hair. We just turned them loose. They were the subject matter experts, and we figured they knew how to teach. Yeah, that was a dumb idea. Amateurs, kind of the same way. If you think about it, getting an amateur radio license is not the beginning of the end. It's the end of the beginning. Now you're going to start on your journey through amateur radio. And it's really helpful to have somebody guide you part of the way. And that's something that as a service globally, I don't know that we do all that good a job of it, because if we did a great job, we wouldn't have half of the newly licensed people in a given year go on never to become active and let their licenses expire. Clearly, it's an area where the service as a whole needs to do a better job, making sure we connect with newcomers and kind of help them learn the rules of the road, learn about propagation if they're interested in HF, if they're interested in, say, repeater operation, all the do's and don'ts of repeaters, if they're interested in eventually joining ARRLs, getting involved in public service communications. It's all kinds of stuff you have to learn there. And largely, we let people self-select, and, we kind of say, well, yeah, glad you decided to get into moon bounce. Now that you've been licensed 2 weeks, good luck with that. Let me know how that turns out. That what we should be doing is saying, hey, I've built a moonbound station before. Why don't you talk to me about what you have, and let's figure out what else you might need to do that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because I know it does. And there are some clubs that really connect with their new members. But there are a lot of other clubs where they literally just say, hey, you got a license? Great. give us $40 and you'll be a member of our club. And don't let the door hit you on the way out, Bucky.
Yeah. Well, Mark, we did that. Steve and I did that session with the folks at Ham Radio Perspectives on growing amateur radio in the clubs. And the comments, if you went down, and they posted it on QRZ as well as on their YouTube channel, and the comments, 50% of the comments were, I went to the local club, they treated me like dirt, they didn't want anything to do with me, yada yada yada, and it was crazy. And we've taken your message to heart, and to Hillary's credit, who runs our WHI committee, she is instituting we did the live stream Elmering, but she's instituting after testing sessions. We're having an Elmering session. So the first one will be May 22nd, and then we're going to do one on June 19th. We focus more towards field day. And then every testing session we have, we're going to have an Elmering session immediately following, so that we get folks on the air. And then, of course, we're doing that operating night where we bring folks in open house style into the clubhouse and do Elmering there. So, we heard that message loud and clear, and we're going to do everything that we can. Anybody who tests with us, if they're local or even not local to the area, we want them to be a member of Y-Cars, and we want to help them on their journey.
I first gained a clear picture of how this worked about 4 or 5 years ago. My wife has a half sister, Paula, someone you don't ever want to cross, by the way. And Paula and her husband Bob, they live on a farm in about Ohio. So you go up US 23 out of Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
They're near the closest city is Upper Sandusky. They're about 70 miles out of Columbus on the way to Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both hams. My brother-in-law is KD8 DCQ, and his wife, my wife's half sister, is KD8 JOT. There is actually an amateur radio club in Upper Sandusky, about 15 members, and I actually found them. I did a Google search and sent my brother-in-law a text and said, turns out there's a local club less than 10 miles from your farm. Here's the meeting schedule. Why don't you guys go check them out? Here's what happened. They walked in, and Bob said there were about 10 people in the room, and they introduced themselves and, name and call sign. And the first comment they got from one of the guys in the room was, how long you been licensed? And, Bob was honest. He said, my brother-in-law is a ham down in South Carolina, and he got us into the hobby. We've been licensed about a year. And Bob even added, we both just recently upgraded to general. And this guy looked at them and said, you're not a general class licensee if you got licensed in the past year. Bob looked at him, the guy says, you don't know code. He said, you're not even a ham. And Bob said, yeah, I am. And the guy said, you don't understand. You are not a real ham. And they were asked to leave.
Sad. It's embarrassing.
That club's probably not still around.
Well, I'll bet that the membership now, instead of being like 18, is now 14, and there are only 6 guys showing up at the meeting. Mm-hmm. And they will circle the drain until, demographics takes everybody out, and that club will be defunct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The funny part was it really pissed off my in-laws, and they were saying, what's the matter with people? Why are we even in this hobby? And what got them active again, you'll love this. I set them up on FT8 where they didn't have to talk to people. It was like giving an alcoholic the keys to a liquor warehouse. Oh my God. My sister-in-law, every night she'd be out there running FT8. And my brother-in-law, they love FT8 because they don't have to talk to anybody. Nobody gives them a hard time. They like field day. Now, I don't think Brad's ever gone up with us. Have you, Brad?
No, but they like field day because they get their own personal field day.
Mm-hmm.
right?
We go up there. I'll tell you who went. EMF. Bob.
Yeah, he went up there.
Bob went up, and Morgan and Lee would go up, and there would be 6 of us, and we would break the 24 hours into 4 hours apiece, and we'd just operate. We would set up. They have a pond on the farm. We'd set up under a tree using a picnic table near the pond. And we had an easy up if it was going to rain. Put a ZS6 BKW up. I'm always pitching that antenna. If you got to operate on field day and you're going to use a wire, brother, that is the one to use. Easy to match.
Easy to build.
Easy to build. Yeah, I know, John. I'm working on it. You'll have it before the weekend is out.
You could see it in my eyes, couldn't you?
Hey, yes.
You got next week. It's fine. Yeah.
Well, I got a section report I got to finish this weekend. I got to get your thing finished because next week taking Miss Lee to the beach.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. It really means a lot.
No problem. And I'll probably be tied up because both my daughters and my sons-in-law will be joining us.
Awesome.
So this will
I mean, you told me about the how much wine and alcohol and beer you had to bring. So
yeah, almost 50 pounds in that crate.
Yeah. Did you look at her and say, "Well, what are you going to drink?"
No, I didn't. I just remembered that Morgan and I stuffed a couple of bottles of Jameson's in the storage room, so I'm good to go.
I gotta go check the storage room, honey.
Well,
glug.
Well, what'll happen as soon as I get down there? I'll go out to the Jenkins Hill property, put up the tent, check the antennas, make sure everything's okay, and set up out there. And I'll spend most of my time out there. And Lee comes out before high tide to fish. And I'll tell you what, she is a heck of a fisherwoman. She's caught dinner for us on more than one occasion.
I was going to say she's in charge of catching lunch, right?
Yeah. Let me tell you, red drum is good.
Oh yeah. Nothing wrong with red drum.
You fillet. I mean, we've had afternoons where, around high tide, middle of the afternoon, she catches a couple of 22, 24-inch red drum. I fillet them, and we go right back to the house, and that winds up being dinner.
Yep. Throw them in some Italian dressing and let them marinate for a little bit and throw them on the grill. Good stuff.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm going to try to wrap everything up this weekend so I can deal with all that next week because
awesome.
I'll also have to. My sons-in-law are 2 very different people, and somebody needs to make sure they don't get too close together. It's just my one son-in-law is a likable, heavy drinking redneck from Georgia. And the other son-in-law is Australian, but his mother is British. So he was educated at private schools and a university in Great Britain. And he is very quiet, very reserved, and very upper middle class British. And those two, it
sounds like a couple butter knives and a bag of popcorn.
Yep. And the daughters are the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Marley's kind of turned the corners after living in New York.
She has a larger vocabulary.
Yeah. The knife's gotten a little more jagged.
She definitely has. She sounds like a native. I mean, she can let it fly. And Austin's Brad knows. Brad's had direct experience with Austin.
Yeah. Austin, when she swings, she slices like a hammer.
Yep.
Bonus
There you
point.
go.
He knows what movie that's from. Anyway, hey, Philip posted a pretty good idea. He's talking about doing like maybe a live Facebook Live.
I see that.
Field day, or even I guess and I don't know how the rules would work with excuse me, with visits. Well, I mean, they don't get any points for you visiting their field day site anyway, but I mean, I guess you wanted to set up a Zoom or maybe something like that. I'm not trying to volunteer your time, Mark, but that was an idea.
I'm retired. My time is everybody's time. That would certainly be.
It's an idea.
That'd be an idea. Yeah. I mean, essentially, yeah, we could. Yeah, we'll have. Yes, that's a great idea, Philip. We're going to need to look at that a little bit more closely. But yeah, we could do that. We talked about that last year and never got around to doing it, about finding a way to do some virtual visits.
No, but we did do 2 live streams. We did one. Was it before it started or like right after it started? Right.
We did one right after it started, and we did one a couple weeks before, because the one before
we did 2 the day of. We did one like in the morning, and we did one about 11 o'clock that night, just like a check-in.
Well, I'll have to take Bruce's question. Bruce, there may be at least one ham active on Edisto, and that would be me, if I can get the opportunity to go down there. I own some property that fronts up on the north branch of the Edisto River. It's not in Edisto Beach, and it's a great place for HF. It's a beautiful ground plane, having that salt marsh and all that right around. So I may be down there. If you're asking the question, you must be down there too. So you might fill us in on that. Certainly, as I get ready to move to Edisto permanently, there will at least be one active ham on Edisto Island, and it'll be I. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, tell me what kind of plans you have for field day on Edisto.
It'll take him a minute to respond.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, I ran into a friend of yours.
That's
Dirk
amazing.
Dirk Tennis.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, he's my neighbor. He lives about a half mile away.
Yeah, we were at Lunch Bunch on Thursday, and I said something about a silent key, and he reached over and he said, "Don't talk about silent keys." And I said, "Are you a ham?" And he said, "Yes, I won't ever talk to him." He actually came out to the clubhouse last night for the meeting. So, yeah, I enjoyed talking with him. He's a CW guy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's super guy. I can actually, his house is about half mile away. I've
So he said he lived right by you.
Yeah. And we're never on the same bands. We don't really interfere with each other. One day he called me and he said, "I found something in my basement that you might be interested." He said, "Come on over and get it." And I had no idea what it was. I walked over. It was an unfinished Heath kit. It was a was it SB401, the transmitter that matches the SB301.
Mm-hmm.
He had started putting the kit together and forgot about it. And 4 moves later, his wife told him to clean out the basement under the house. And he finds this old kit and he calls me. And then I had to lug that thing back to my house. You know, it's
Bring the wheelbarrow.
It's funny, you know, carrying it 50 feet is one thing. Carrying that thing a half mile.
Different animal.
That's why they're called boat anchors.
Yep.
Okay, I see. About 3 miles from the beach. All right. Okay, so he's almost in Edisto Beach. Well, Bruce, if you haven't had a chance to get on yet, when you do get on, you will be pleasantly surprised. That is a pretty good location for HF operation. I haven't really done much VHF operating from there yet, but I'm going to find out.
Yeah, since he doesn't have a station up yet, maybe if he's got a radio, we should introduce him to the ZS6BKW just to get him on the air.
We probably should. Like I've said, if you're going to have one antenna, that's the one you want to have.
That is
We just got a donation from one of our club members who's put up a nice sum of money to buy for new hams to try and get them on the air. And that's one of the antennas we've spec'd in is the ZS6BKW. That and off-center fed dipole and loops. Just depends on the situation because some people don't have room for a ZS6BKW, but they might have room for a 40-meter loop. So, yeah.
I've used both during field day. One year at Paula and Bob's, I used an off-center fed dipole for 40, 20, 15, and 10. It's unusual design. It looks very odd because the feed point is 1/6, 16% of the distance from one end.
Okay.
So you have roughly a little bit less than 12 feet on one side and 50 some odd feet on the other side. You feed it through a 4-to-1 balun, and then you a choke balun after that, and you get, depending on how you make it, pretty much full coverage, 40, 20, 15, and 10. So it was a perfect antenna for field day.
Nice.
Because the way I had it set up, I could tee it and then feed it as a vertical for 80 and 75 in the evening. It was just an odd top load, but it still worked. And that particular antenna actually had spreaders. I had 2 wires about 4 inches apart. And so it simulated a much larger conductor, which allowed you to get the entire 40-meter band.
Oh, nice.
Which meant you could do both CW and phone with it. So yeah, the off-center fed dipoles work pretty well. They're a little more complicated to build than a ZS6B KW, if you want to do it right.
We built that 160 loop. We had that full wave 160 out there last year, and that thing was a freaking monster, especially on the higher bands. You know, you get on the 10, and that radiation pattern's a big old clock face with super high gain lobes. I mean, there's some nulls in it, but man, I'll tell you what, when you're seeing, 8 and 9 dB a gain in an area, you are the loudest thing on, even at 100 watts, you are the loudest thing on the air. And same thing with 15, it was, serious gain, 6, 7 dB. There wasn't as many lobes, but still was fantastic.
Yeah, if you can get a horizontal loop up fairly high, it does a good job. The only downside is if you're trying to operate on the low bands, you wind up with a cloud burner. If you're interested specifically in low band operation, and you live in this part of the United States where ground conductivity it varies between shitty and abysmal, you're better off to go with a vertical loop.
Yeah, that 160 like you have is,
I mean, that one's kind of the extreme case. I bought the lot next to my house so I could do that. That's a big antenna.
I need you to give me the dimensions on that, because I've got that lot next door to me on the corner there that I bought. And I think I might be able to stretch one in that thing too.
Well, I'm looking at comment from Mr. Chambers, and I would say off-center fed dipole is fine. And there are lots of variations on that. The classic variation is the feed point is 1/3 of the way from one end, so it's a 1/3, 2/3 kind of thing. I built one that was 1/6, 5/6. That requires you got to pay attention to the balun design, but that something like that, you wind up getting, say, 40, 20, 15, and 10, 4 bands, 1 antenna. And everybody in this group's a big fan of the ZS6B KW. A little less than 94 feet end to end, fed in the middle. You have a 39-foot, 3-inch section of 450 ohm ladder line and a transition to 50 ohm coax, and you're good to go the rest of the way back to the transmitter. Typically, you're looking at low VISWAR, low SWR, probably on almost the entire 40-meter band, all of 20, all of 17, all of 12, and the upper half of 10. And the parts of the bands where you don't have a low VISWAR, the SWR is not so high that it can't easily be matched by any built-in auto tuner that a HF transceiver has. So really becomes an antenna that you can operate on a lot of different bands. It's very inexpensive to build, and it doesn't have to be 150 feet up in the air. You get it up 40, 50 feet, it'll operate just fine. It is the antenna to have when you're just going to have one antenna. I've got one here at my home QTH, and I've got one down on Edisto Island. I got one over at my other property on Jenkins Hill Road, and that one's not that high. It's about 50 feet, but given the low ground high ground conductivity, because everything there is pretty salty, it does a bang up job. So I'd strongly recommend that. And I think if you go out and hunt around on YouTube, you will find a awesome video that AE4VJ put together on the ZS6B KW. Say what?
That you and I did. And
that's true.
If you're in a pinch for if you got the height but you don't have the length in your yard, there's the compact version, the G0 GSF. It's designed by the same guy. He moved, so we got a new call. and it has some interesting features to it as well.
And then finally, if you like 160 meters, you can actually feed a ZS6BKW as a T antenna. And it turns out if you've got somewhere between 55 and 65 feet of total feed line length, so that's about 25 feet of coax plus the 39 feet 3-inch ladder line section, you can feed that against ground, and the impedance, depending on the ground system, will be somewhere between 20 and 40 ohms. So it's very easily fed with 50 ohm coax, and you can use it as a vertical on 160. We told the guy who created the antenna, we told him about that. And what did he say, Brad? He said that wasn't really a ZS6BKW anymore once we shorted the feed line together at ground and fed it as a vertical. But it worked.
That's right. Actually, they said it wasn't that, but just like he wasn't taking credit for it or anything.
So it's an antenna that you can do a lot with. And when you think about what it costs to grab approximately 94 feet of number 14 insulated stranded wire, a piece of ladder line, 39 feet, 3 inches long, call it 40 feet. And then you need some coax, and that's it. A center insulator to have a place to hang everything. Interesting question from Philip. Which direction works better? The answer is it depends. And
depends on where you're trying to work.
Yep.
It depends on what you're interested in listening to. Also, something you have to consider about an antenna like the ZS6BKW, the pattern is different on each band. On 40 meters, it's a pattern like a dipole. The radiation is mostly perpendicular to the wire, and so it has a bit of directionality. But you get on 20 and 17 and 12, it's a multi-lobe pattern, kind of similar to what John was talking about, with a horizontal loop fed on one of its high harmonics. It looks kind of like the face of a clock. You got all these lobes sticking out every 30, 40 degrees. And turns out that the direction that you orient the wire in doesn't matter a whole lot because you've got all these lobes pointing in different directions. I would say just put it up wherever you can. It'll do fine. If you're really interested in on the lower bands, working, say, Europe, well, try to run the antenna northwest to southeast, and that will put your 40-meter main lobe in the direction of Europe and the other one in the direction of Australia. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. There isn't a lot of directionality to it. Put it up, and it'll work. And you'll hear stuff from a lot of different directions. Trust me. That is not as big an issue as you think it is.
Very good. All right. Well, Philip asked how he could join the conversation. I sent him the link, but I did that a while ago. Maybe he's not.
Camera shot.
Very well could be. And that's all right. We understand. But it is probably, it's 9:30. So we've been at this about an hour and a half. It's probably about time to wrap it up. So let's go through some final thoughts on field day for this year. Gordon, you want to take the lead on that one? Over.
Well, I look forward to seeing everyone. I'll definitely hit York and try and hit Spartanburg. Marc made Spartanburg sound very interesting. Food is always a good driver.
It's
really
always there, and no matter what time you show up, the food is there.
Well, see now, Mark, you're making me want to start to get the smoker out.
Now, before we started this, I walked from the garage back into the house, and I went, "That's hickory I smell."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it's coming from, but it was smelling good, and I have not had dinner yet.
Before we started this, I was out grilling or actually smoking. I smoked 6 chicken breasts and 6 hamburgers, and my sister's in town, so I cooked for them for tonight and tomorrow, because tomorrow we have the Mike Doty run in Fort Mill, so the club's going to be up running comms for them I got to be up at 4:45 in the morning, so I can get to Fort Mill by 6 to set up the booth, and then the races start at, I think it's 7 tomorrow morning. So, but we're looking forward to field day. I am so excited to kind of getting back to normal and getting ready to rock and roll and work some pileups and just have a good time and having, the enthusiasm we have right now with the club, especially for field day. All these new KO calls, and some of them that upgraded and have changed their calls, they are just absolutely chomping at the bit to get on the air. So we're going to do our best to get them exercised in and get them on the air so that they stay hams long term.
There you go. Mark, anything you want to add in closing?
I will make a point field day weekend, wherever I am, of getting on and trying to work as many. I'll be looking for South Carolina stations to work specifically. So even if I don't have the opportunity to visit folks, I'll at least be able to put some points in their log. The other thing I will do, I will make sure that I check into the South Carolina sideband net, 7 p.m. on Saturday night. So if people want to pick up some bonus points by sending me a message, I will make sure I am there to get them. And I hope everybody has a fun field day. At this point, I don't think, given my wife's situation, I'll be able to do a whole lot, but I'll be on the air and be looking for those folks in South Carolina.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And I know it's kind of a little bit of short notice on how we got this out, but a pretty decent turnout and some good questions, some good conversation. So I think I know I had a good time. Hopefully you guys did. Did you, Mark, John, Gordon?
Oh, absolutely, Brad. Thank you so much for doing this. And Mark, thank you. And Gordon, it's good to see you. So yeah, thanks for doing it. Man, I'm privileged to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing this, and I think, well, Mark has a feature. He doesn't generally say no when I have some crazy ideas. So he's always willing to try. And, when we did the last section report, he came over and he did that. And I think we nailed that in about 2 takes from cold. And we hadn't done one in over a year. And that went.
So made the cue cards bigger.
We got interesting. I don't know if you saw from the picture, but we did hang the cue cards up on a C-stand right above the camera so you could see it. And
we could see the shadow.
Yeah. Well, no, you should. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
So I knew he had cue cards. I'm like, I can see a little shadow there.
It's either going to be looking up or looking down. I'm trying to get him to pop for a teleprompter, but he was very much. He got passionate when talking about the.
He was much more natural. Usually he's a little more rigid. He seemed relaxed and more natural this time. So
but I don't know. In the first part of it over here, there's a White Claw can. So we lubed him up.
Gave him a little liquid courage, did we?
Just lube him up. I kind of like it. I think maybe we should drink a fifth of Jameson before we try the next one. There you go. No. All right, guys. Anytime, if you guys have any questions, comments, be sure to let us know. You can get in touch with us, Facebook, let us a comment on YouTube. Facebook's probably a little better. Twitter. You can email us. The ARRLSC.org is the website, and you can send messages on that and all. You can get in touch with all of us very easily, and we can answer any questions. And if anything in the future you're thinking of that maybe you'd like to see a discussion about, please let us know. We can do another one of these when we get some more people. This is a pretty good turnout here. So it was fun. We've even got some more comments. So
none of us are afraid to talk about stuff. Even if we don't know anything, we're still willing to
fake it till you make it, baby.
That's it, brother.
That's what we do.
We'll get an answer to research it.
That's right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again next time.
Thanks, guys.